All right, guys, so this is the last assignment that you are going to be working on for me, and you have 3 days to do it. So use your time wisely. You can do it all in one day, or you can break it up over the 3 days, but it will be due on December 23rd. So last week we talked about job interviews, a little bit about the process, and then last Thursday I had you guys watch some videos on job interviews. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? And then what kind of questions do they typically ask? So hopefully you took notes on that. If not, you are going to want to go back and review those videos from last week's agenda and make sure that you take notes. That'll be very, very helpful and will make this assignment much easier for you. So we talked today in our Zoom meeting about our script already, but I just wanted to add this video on here just to give some extra clarification for those of you that maybe were struggling with understanding it a little bit the first time. So this is your job interview script. Directions. You will be writing a script of a mock job interview of Alex applying for a field agent position for MI6. Mr. Blunt and Mrs. Jones will be the interviewers, while Alex is the interviewee. You must include the following. So you have to have some sort of greeting or introduction. So maybe you have Alex walking in and he says, hello, thank you for having me. Or either you have Mr. Blunt or Mrs. Jones introduce themselves and then thank Alex for being there. You then need to have at least 4 interview questions from your notes from those YouTube videos that we watched last week. So any 4 of those questions that you want to have. And then you can break that up between maybe Mr. Blunt asks the first question, Alex gives his response. Mrs. Jones asks the second question, Alex gives the response. And then Mr. Blunt asks the question, Alex gives the response, and then same with Mrs. Jones. However you guys wanted to do that, that is fine. So if you are going to ask the 4 questions, you have to have 4 answers, okay, to those questions. In this script, you must use capital letters and correct punctuation. So at the beginning of all of your sentences, making sure that you are using capital letters. And at the end of your sentences, if they are asking questions, you better have question marks or periods if Alex is giving that response. You also need to have some sort of closing. So maybe Alex would say, thank you so much for having me. I hope to hear from you soon. Or you might have Mr. Jones or Mrs. Blunt say, Alex, that's all we have for you today. Do you have any questions for us? Maybe you have Alex ask some kind of question there. Or maybe Alex will just say, no, thank you for your time. I hope to hear from you soon. Okay, so making sure that you have some kind of closing. Typically with job interviews, especially with one like this, they're not going to hire a field agent right on the spot. So with your closing, I would suggest that you have it so that maybe Mr. Jones and Mrs. Blunt say, we'll get back with you as soon as we've made our decision, or something along those lines. That's not to say that sometimes people get hired right on the spot, because that does happen. But I would say in this type of position that Alex is applying for, that probably wouldn't happen. Okay. You need to make sure that you identify who is speaking. So this is how I type this up for you guys so you could have an example. So Alex, and remember, this is a name, it's a proper noun. You need to have a capital letter here. So this is an example of an introduction. Alex says, good morning, my name is Alex Ryder. Thank you for taking the time to interview me today. Mr. Blunt says, you are most welcome, Alex. Please take a seat. Mrs. Jones says, okay, Alex, here is our first question for you. Okay, and then maybe you would put a question here, or maybe Mr. Blunt would actually ask that question. So then I want you guys to start typing your script right below here. Okay, so you can use your notes on this, any notes that you took on those 3 YouTube videos, anything that you remember from our Zoom meetings that we talked about, anything that you need. So please, please, please feel free to contact me today or tomorrow with any questions that you may have, because our last day before Christmas break is Wednesday, and that's when your assignment is due. So make sure that you are contacting me if there's anything else I can help you with. All right, good luck, guys. Thanks.